What is greatness?
It's doing what makes you feel proud. What feels right for right now. You define your greatness.
Masih 1 jam lagi.
Tina. Ya, Bu.
Aha, saatnya kembangkan karir. Seru juga ya kalau bisa ngembangin karir. Tapi kok... Indonesia-Australia Skills Exchange. Dengan Indonesia-Australia Skills Exchange, saatnya tumbuh bersama. Indonesia-Australia Skills Exchange membantu dunia usaha Indonesia menyediakan berbagai pelatihan berkualitas. Industri di Indonesia akan terhubung langsung dengan lembaga pendidikan Australia. Indonesia-Australia Skills Exchange.
The Catalyst activity with Living Well Seniors Communities provides us a fantastic opportunity to connect Indonesian nurses with Australian registered training organisations and skill up those Indonesian nurses as personal care attendants specialising in aged care based on an Australian standard. We look forward to Living Well Seniors Communities providing both services here in Indonesia to meet Australian standards, but vice versa, we look forward to the opportunity of training up, skilling up Indonesian care workers and enabling them to enter the Australian workforce to assist aged care operators and to ease some of those staffing issues which currently exist.
menjawab tantangan multidimensional yang dihadapi dunia usaha di tengah disrupsi dan konflik geopolitik membutuhkan sinergi dan kolaborasi kuat antar pengusaha.
Selama lebih dari 70 tahun bertransformasi, APINDO sebagai wadah kolaborasi pengusaha memegang erat 5 nilai Pancasila sebagai fondasi untuk menuju perubahan. Sebagai insan APINDO yang menjadi katalisator utama terhadap isu-isu penting yang mendukung agenda nasional dan internasional, kami terus berupaya mewujudkan iklim usaha yang kondusif, kompetitif, dan berkelanjutan untuk penciptaan lapangan pekerjaan.
Dengan mengembangkan 7 prioritas utama, APINDO terus berkomitmen memberikan pengaruh dan kontribusi yang signifikan, inklusif, serta berkelanjutan bagi roda perekonomian nasional. Dalam upaya mendorong transformasi APINDO untuk Indonesia maju, APINDO berkomitmen untuk mengembangkan 4 program unggulan, yaitu mengembangkan roadmap kebijakan ekonomi untuk panduan strategis pemerintah dalam melanjutkan reformasi struktural, mendorong pertumbuhan ekonomi yang inklusif dengan mendukung peningkatan kinerja UMKM, mereformasi kualitas SDM nasional sejak dini dengan pencegahan stunting, dan menerapkan program sertifikasi HR dan IR untuk peningkatan profesionalisme dan kualitas hubungan industrial yang dinamis.
Mari melangkah bersama untuk pengusaha bersatu, Indonesia maju.
Hi, my name is Dan Gray and I'm from TAFE Queensland, and I've flown up here to Surabaya here at the Saputra University to run a digital literacy course. So in the digital literacy course, we are going to be covering a range of topics, including basically digital security, digital ethics, digital marketing and onboarding, as well as a few other topics.
Ya, hari ini sangat seru banget sih.
Kemarin lihat kontennya luar biasa.
Kita bisa berbincang dengan bahasa Inggris, jadi melatih juga kita buat belajar bahasa Inggris lebih.
Ini merupakan suatu ajang yang bagus buat kami untuk bisa berjejaring.
By the end of the course, we hope that the students will really get a better understanding of the tools that are available to them and how to use them safely.
Menyala Abang Den.
Zaman sekarang belajar cukup pakai jari loh.
Maksudnya?
Iya, tinggal searching kursus online aja di internet.
Tapi aku mau yang terpercaya dari Australia. Aussie, Down Under, idaman aku itu.
Pas banget, ada loh di Traveloka Experience. Tinggal pilih sesuai minat kamu, semuanya akan ada di Traveloka Experience.
Wah, udah paling bener nih.
Setelah pelatihan, kamu juga akan mendapatkan digital page dari lembaga-lembaga Australia yang bermitra dengan Traveloka.
Dengan dukungan Katalis, meningkatkan keterampilan tidak lagi kenal batas.
Gimana? Udah nemu yang pas belum?
Pas dan tanpa batas.
So today we actually have the opening of the digital literacy training done by Catalyst and Catalyst partner TAFE Queensland and Traveloka and Universitas Ciputra.
Kita mengadakan digital literacy yang memberikan pengetahuan, keterampilan dan juga wawasan tentang keterampilan digital yang dibutuhkan di dalam pengembangan dunia pariwisata, khususnya di Jawa Timur.
And we also hope that there's a kind of engaging interaction whereby audiences or the training participant can share a candid issues in tourism industry, mostly in digital era, and we hope to have a kind of mutual solution and contribution and positive feedback after the program ends.
Menurut saya sudah tidak bisa dipungkiri lagi ya, Australia termasuk salah satu training provider yang terbaik di dunia. Harapan kami ya tetap berlanjut training tersebut, lebih ditingkatkan kualitas dan kuantitasnya.
What is greatness?
It's doing what makes you feel proud. What feels right for right now. You define your greatness.
Halo semuanya, selamat pagi, apa kabar? Saya Jeffrey Andika Pakpahan, analis Asosiasi Pengusaha Indonesia APINDO. Hari ini hari yang spesial untuk APINDO dan Indonesian Australia Skills Exchange karena genap 4 kali kami berkolaborasi untuk mengadakan pelatihan online yang dimulai sejak bulan Juni 2025. So, a very warm welcome to everyone attending this fourth and final webinar in this training series. These training sessions are designed to support Indonesian businesses in building future-ready teams and to introduce the Indonesian Australia Skills Exchange platform. The Indonesian Australia Skills Exchange platform is an exciting project that was launched in February 2025. To date, the platform has brought together 52 Australian registered training organizations and over 130 Indonesian businesses to connect to more than 330 courses. Today's training topic is Project Management Fundamentals, and it will be presented by UNE Partnership in Sydney. The certified training is designed to provide you with a solid foundations in the tools, techniques, and mindset of effective project delivery. Do you get questions and comments ready? We encourage you to use the chat box throughout this webinar. Your question will be incorporated into the Q&A sessions toward the end. For translation services and other queries, please also use the chat box. Today's session is being live streamed and recorded and will be available on the Catalyst website and the YouTube. To get started, please welcome Ibu Shinta Kamdani, the chairman of APINDO, for her remarks.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, esteemed professional representative of APINDO members and respected participants of this training. Good morning, and allow me to extend my warmest greetings to all of you. Indonesia, with a population of over 280 million people, is entering a new phase marked by technological acceleration, the reshaping of global supply chain, and the rise of new industries that are rapidly redefining the nature and essence of work. Alongside this vast opportunity, there emerged a fundamental question we must answer collectively and urgently. Is Indonesia workforce ready to face the future we are building together? Let me begin by presenting the current reality. 67% of the unemployed are millennials and Gen Z. At the same time, only 9% of workers possesses high-level competency, which is far behind our ASEAN peers. This reflects a deeper structural issue, the misalignment between the needs of the labor market and the skills possessed by our workforce today. A structural shift in investment pattern further exacerbates this gap. In recent years, investment in Indonesia has increasingly shifted toward capital-intensive sectors where industry rely heavily on automation, advanced manufacturing, digitalization, and AI. As a result, the types of skill demanded by businesses are evolving rapidly, outpacing the speed at which our education and training system can adapt. As an organization representing the business community, APINDO firmly believes that human resources development is not a secondary issue, but the fundamental pillar of national competitiveness. Indonesia Emas 2045 will only be possible if our workforce holds high-value, sustainable jobs aligned to the future industries. This reflects a structural issue. Our education and training system, though improving, are not yet fully aligned with market needs. Many graduates from vocational and higher education struggle to transition into the workforce. Many workers lack access to relevant, high-quality, and affordable training, and few initiatives promote lifelong learning, which is critical in this era of industrial disruption. Allow me to express my deep vision to our national workforce. The IA-CEPA program is far more than a training course. It is a strategic investment in human capacity building, equipping workers with not only technical competency, but also the leadership, communication, and adaptability skills required to thrive in a dynamic and uncertain world of work. At APINDO, we are convinced that skills are the new currency of competitiveness for individuals, businesses, and nations, and that investment in human capital through structured, targeted, globally aligned training remains the most effective strategy to drive productivity, strengthen competitiveness, and ensure sustainable economic growth. I hope for the IIC program are threefold. First, as a tangible model of collaboration between the business world, training providers, and international partners in generating measurable and scalable solutions aligned with market needs. Second, as an inspiration for other sectors to join the national movement for lifelong learning. And third, and most importantly, as a stepping stone towards APINDO's broader vision of building a resilient, adaptive, and globally competitive Indonesian workforce. Looking ahead to Indonesia Emas 2045, APINDO remains steadfast in its commitment to champion superior human capital as the foundation for growth, to advocate for balanced policy that empower both businesses and workers, and to strengthen strategic partnership both domestically and internationally. We are optimistic. Why? Because we believe in the tremendous potential of Indonesia workforce. With the right training, inclusive approaches, and effective cross-border collaboration, we are confident that Indonesia workforce will not only adapt to global changes, but lead them. I encourage Indonesian companies and professionals to embrace the invaluable opportunity presented by the IA-CEPA platform. Through IA-CEPA, participants gain access to an extensive portfolio of world-class training programs delivered by highly regarded Australian institutions. The initiative is designed not only to equip individuals with cutting-edge expertise, but also to empower organizations to sharpen their competitiveness in an increasingly dynamic global economy. I warmly welcome you to this transformative initiative. Let us move forward together with the conviction that the choices we make and the action we take today will define Indonesia's trajectory and shape its future for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibu Shinta Kamdani, Chairman of APINDO, for your inspiring remarks and for setting the tone for today's event. Continuing on that note, please welcome Mr. Paul Bartlett, Director of Catalyst, to share his welcoming remarks.
Hello, everybody. Sorry. I hope you can hear me. Sorry, bit of a false start. There. Good morning. Very warm welcome to everybody joining us in Jakarta, Surabaya, Medan, or connecting from elsewhere, including friends from DFAT in Canberra, from the embassy and from the government of Indonesia, from industry in both countries, as well as people wishing to do this exciting project management course. I myself am in Jakarta at the moment. It's a special moment for us at Catalyst because today marks the fourth and final installment of this year's online training series delivered in collaboration with APINDO through the Indonesian Skills Exchange. Over the last 4 months, we've covered a lot of ground together. We've explored leadership skills with Deakin Co. We've strengthened our understanding of mental health in the workplace with Phoenix, Australia. We've learned what it takes to lead championship teams with Rapid Teams. And today, we're diving into project management fundamentals with the University of New England Partnerships. Each session has brought world-class expertise from Australia directly to professionals in Indonesia, not as theory alone, but as practical know-how you can apply the moment you log off. I'd like to thank our incredible partners, Ibu Shinta Kamdani and her team at APINDO, our Australian training providers, and of course, all of you, the participants, for showing such strong engagement and curiosity. The series is part of something much bigger than our 4 webinars. It's about building a future-ready workforce, strengthening Indonesia-Australia cooperation under IA-CEPA, and creating opportunities for professional growth across borders and industries. I hope today's session not only gives you valuable skills, but also inspires you to continue learning, connecting, and leading in your workplaces. Thank you, and let's get started.
Thank you, Paul Bartlett, Director of Catalyst, for your remarks. Yes, you've heard about it, but what is the Indonesian-Australia Skills Exchange exactly? This next video explains in more detail.
There have been many partnerships between Australian education providers and Indonesian businesses, both for training in Indonesia and Australia. Now there is an easy way to connect with Australian education providers. It's the Indonesia-Australia Skills Exchange platform.
Hai Mbak Feris. Hai Mbak. Apa kabar Mbak? Baik, apa kabar? Baik juga. Have a nice day ya Mbak. Yeah, you too.
Jump onto iaskills.org and see hundreds of courses by renowned Australian education providers. It's simple and straightforward. Everything is right there on the platform.
Should I take this to the meeting room?
Yeah, great.
For Indonesian businesses looking for training, there's a wide range of categories according to industry. There are different types of training, including micro-credentials, short courses, or other qualifications. Then, there are options for delivery methods that can suit your business, like virtual, in-person, or a mix of online and in-person training in Indonesia. You can also choose your preferred language, whether in Indonesian or English.
And boom, there it is. There's a couple of training providers offering this type of courses. After you select your course, the training provider will be in touch and you can discuss in detail about the training delivery.
If you haven't found the right course for you, you can request for a course to be designed for your business. The education providers will see it and may respond by sending a proposal or quote. You can then contact them directly. We have over 50 trusted Australian providers featured on the platform. These providers are some of the best vocational training organisations and universities in Australia, all with interest in delivering training in Indonesia.
TAFE Queensland are excited to be part of the Indonesia-Australia Skills Exchange Platform, or iaskills.org. It's a great initiative that connects TAFE Queensland and other institutions with Indonesian businesses, making it easier to access high-level training. This platform is a game changer, helping us build strong partnerships and opening doors to incredible training opportunities in Indonesia.
We've been working in Indonesia for more than 20 years, and most recently we've been collaborating with Catalyst on some online micro-credentials and short courses to assist with skills development. We're really excited about the launch of the IA Skills Exchange and look forward to making new friends across the Indonesian archipelago. We'll see you there.
Join us today!
Thanks for staying with us. If you have questions about the IASE, do get in touch with us through the email provided in the chat. For now, Richard Fimery is ready to deliver the training. But first, let's get to know about the UNEP. Hello, Richard. Can you hear us?
I can indeed.
Okay, thank you, Richard, for joining us today. Maybe we will have a little chit chat before you start your materials. First, could you tell us a little about yourself? How long have you been with the UNE partnership?
I'm actually very new to UNE partnerships. I've only been with the organisation for about 5 months, but I have been working in the education sector for about 25 years.
That's great. And what do you enjoy most about working with professionals from different countries, like today with participants from Indonesia?
The opportunity to learn. I've worked with organisations, both small and large, across the globe. And although I'm generally in the position of supporting the development of learning and education in these situations, more often than not, it is myself that actually learns from that experience.
Wonderful. Now, for those who might be new to the UNE partnership, could you give us a quick introduction? What kind of programs or training does UNEP usually provide?
We provide training across a broad range of sectors. We work with the Australian Defence quite broadly across Australia, but also we work with domestic markets and international markets delivering programs in health and business predominantly.
Interesting. And from your perspective, which of these programs are particularly relevant for businesses here in Indonesia?
The opportunities with the programs that we offer within Indonesia are quite broad, and it is really about the flexibility of the delivery of our programs, whilst they are delivering business-specific credentials in a flexible manner, they can be applied in a real-time application. So although you're actually undertaking a course of learning, you will be looking a lot at how you operate and integrating your application and your real-world experience into that journey. So it is the integration of what you bring to the experience as well as what you take away from that process of learning that is the most valuable, I believe.
Excellent. One last question before we get into the main topic. If you could describe the training style at the UNE partnership in just one word, what would it be?
The one word, definitely collaborative.
Perfect. That's a great note to begin with, Richard. Glad to have you with us. To start, let's hear a short video from Richard, and right after that, we'll dive straight into today's session on project management fundamentals. So without further ado, Richard, over to you.
If we want something to change in our life, we've got to have the motivation to change it. And one of the things that help us change that is education and training. Once you have the vision, mission and values, it's really much easier to steer your career journey because you can keep it on track. You know where you're headed. That's the future. And then you can make decisions of whether what you're going to do is going to move you closer, or is it a sidestep, or how are we going to do that? Clarity around that really helps our motivation, it helps our drive, it helps us commit to the study.
I think because people change jobs so much that they do have to be their own CEO. They've got to be the one managing not just their workload and their work life, but their studies and their career. No one cares about you as much as you do yourself.
The question the individual has to ask themselves, do I value my worth? How much do I value my worth? And in valuing our worth, we have to start to think about what does that mean for me as an individual? What am I willing to give up in my day-to-day life to do this course?
So I've always seen training and education as an investment, never a cost. And it's a financial investment and it's an investment of time, but it's something that no one can ever take away from you. So that education and that ability to learn and grow and change is completely about yourself. So I would never, ever make the judgment, I suppose, that, oh no, it costs too much, because it's the greatest investment you can make is in yourself.
The other thing which is worth noting that $1 spent today is cheaper than $1 spent tomorrow. The cost of something you purchase today is cheaper than, in 5 years' time. And so the opportunity to invest upfront now for what might be, a career opportunity downstream is how I think I would justify that finance.
Completing a course is not about the qualification. It's about setting a goal for yourself with what you'll do with the qualification. So what's beyond the course, that's going to motivate you to finish, not the piece of paper that comes at the end when you graduate. It's the goal that you set for yourself. It's the learning experience, the journey, the application of knowledge along the way, and then the transition to something bigger. And people that have that attitude can't not be successful.
So good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for joining me today and honouring me with your time. I actually today am coming from the lands of the Wurundjeri people, which is in Wodonga in Victoria. So a little bit, a long way from my home, but I happen to be out and about travelling around Australia today. So thank you, and I look forward to sharing the session today with you. What I would like to do is actually, as it says on the slide, tell you a little bit of a story, and in that give you an understanding of the purpose and the objectives behind what we're looking at, which is the short course or the fundamentals of project management. So to start, what we're going to do is give a little bit of an overview. So project management involves defining the planning, managing and reporting on projects using universal skills and knowledge, no matter the project size or setting. Now, I can read that, so can you. But the fundamentals of project management are around, again, applying your existing knowledge and experience in a standardized process. So our process of education and learning uses your experience, uses the context of your business, the opportunities that you have presented within your environment, and applies that in real world context to give you an outcome that is applicable immediately. So the story starts at Amazon. So we're going to be basically talking about a character named Heidi, the project manager. So things went wrong for Heidi and the team. As I said, this is a story. Word got out about the injuries at Amazon. Now, just for clarity, the names of the characters have been changed. However, the story is very true. As you can see at the point, now you may remember this, there was a lot of discussion in media, mainstream media and social media, around the impacts of injuries and working conditions within Amazon. Now, aside from the impact from a public image perspective, it actually had a real world impact on the business, quite specifically in the share price, as you can see here. So for Heidi, it was time to make things right. So he initiated and scoped the project, planned the project activities. And as you can see here, there is a basic breakdown of each of the phases of the project activities. So we'll have a look at those in more detail. So the first part of this process is initiating the project. Now, for many of you, you will clearly understand that initiating a plan, a thought, an idea, or in this instance, a project, is very much a part of normal business. It's not unique, it's not different, but what it does in this process of the short course is allows you to apply that to a more rigid framework that defines each of the aspects in the process. So you've got some clarity as to what are the steps I should take and what are the sequence of activities. So as you can see here, we're defining the project scope. What is the focus? What is not the focus? So we're not wasting time, effort, and energy on aspects of a project that are not relevant to what we want to achieve. Identifying the stakeholders. This can be difficult in certain circumstances, but it does clarify what you can achieve and what may be limited by stakeholder input and process. The next one is to develop a project charter, which gives the governance around your project. So we look at current processes. We map existing workflows, processes, practices. We look at staff capacity data. Now, this can take many forms, and again, this is where the opportunity has, in a real world context, gives you the chance to actually look at that and think about that in your current situation and circumstance. And again, something you're likely to be very familiar with. So again, as we're going through this process, it is scaffolded learning. So you're integrating your knowledge, experience of your own operation and business, and applying it within this framework and building progressively the structure you need to give greater clarity and guidance on project management. We next look at identifying bottlenecks and inefficiencies. We also think about analysing the workload distribution. How does that look? What does that impact as business as usual? And maybe what are the other considerations we need to be aware of? We also look at gathering requirements, engaging staff and management. And again, with any change or project or shift in process or practice, understanding and communicating effectively is a critical part of the process to ensure a successful outcome of any project. We look at capacity constraints. What may restrict our processes? We look at what are the measures of success? How do we know if we've achieved the outcomes we wanted to achieve? What does that look like? And when will we measure it? We look at the design process. So developing process optimization strategies. What are the best ways about doing something? And this can be quite innovative. Not every circumstance or process will look the same, and it is very much dependent upon an individual business and what the workflow looks like and how it looks like it might be a viable proposition or how things may work in your circumstance. We look at redesigning those workflows for efficiency. What can we do there to make things work more smoothly? Where we can, we integrate automation. Now, that may be automation in process, it may be automation in relation to artificial intelligence, and then again, that depends upon the nature of your objectives and the nature of your organization as to what that actually looks like. So again, very flexible. We look at new roles and responsibilities within that practice and process. We look at plan implementation. This is where it really gets going. This is where we're doing the process of our project. So we develop the training programs, what skills and capabilities need to be brought up. We look at operational procedures and what updates might need to occur there. Again, as I talked about earlier, looking around the communication for stakeholders, we also need to plan change management activities. And then we need to be looking at a schedule for phased rollout. What does that look like and what are our timelines? We conduct staff training, implement process changes in stages, deploy automation tools, and monitor initial performance. So again, as we're going through this structure, this is giving you the framework to guide each of those phases of your project. So that instead of trying to keep all of this concept in a single mind or a single spreadsheet in Excel, what we give you in this process is a structure and a framework to work with to make the process much simpler. Think of it almost as a question and answer. If you have a structure that requires information for that phase or that step, then it's literally what is the answer to this, and there is the answer for your process. So it simplifies and makes the process much more efficient and certainly a lot less stressful. Now, monitoring and adjusting as you're moving through the project, sometimes things will work perfectly. Other times, not so much. But that is a very important part and a realistic part of any project. It's about being able to adapt, but also you need to be monitoring and able to identify where there are potential gaps or opportunities, where you've applied a resource and you can actually reapply and reorganize or reschedule some of those things to get better efficiency out of your process. So we look at collecting post-implementation data. We analyze workload distribution throughout. We make continuous improvements of process, and we document lessons learned. Now, certainly from my experience, I can highlight the importance of documenting lessons learned and it is quite often left out of project management concepts or ideas. But what it does is inform your organisation, yourself and the stakeholders of what worked well and what didn't work. So as you move forward with your implementation of future projects, you can learn from your past experiences. And there you gain increasing efficiencies over time. You don't repeat mistakes. At the end, then we look at closing the project. So again, the final reporting and documentation will depend a lot on the nature of your business and then the nature of your objective, the financials. So the reporting and documentation will vary quite dramatically. But again, as you're going through the project fundamentals, you will learn to identify what that looks like and what is the right fit. You'll also have a stakeholder review where you actually have that communication flow cycling through. And then you have a formal project closure, which allows you to shut off, conclude that project, and have completed all of the documentation and filing and record keeping, so that for future references, you can look back and clearly understand what has occurred, what worked, what didn't work, and what you would do in the future to improve your project management methodology. So fundamental, again, to this process, Hadi needed a good project schedule. So as you can see in this schedule, you can see at the bottom, the initiation of the project, all the way through each of the phases of the project through this schedule. Now, there are many different ways that a schedule can be implemented, structured, and viewed. This is just one example. And you can see on the left are the phases, and the other axis is the timeline. And again, they're all very, very flexible. But it's very easy to see what stage or what phase is at what point in time. And again, simplifying the process for everyone involved, all stakeholders. So how do you use this process to avoid setbacks? And as you can see, as with any project management methodology, it is a cyclic process. So you can see that as it moves through, you identify the hazards and you move through, proceeding past controlling of risk, review controls, back to identifying the hazards and so on. And this is a continuum throughout the life cycle of a project. And again, once the documentation and the strategy are in place, this, whilst very structured, can actually be quite simple and quite efficient and easy to do. So how do you put the plan into action? And there's some of the strategies really basically just talking about, oh, my apologies. I'll go back there. So some of the strategies were a kickoff meeting, a project status report, project meetings, and managing team collaboration. As we talked about before, of that cycle of monitoring and review and potentially reporting. So had he monitored and controlled the project? So he kept the project plan up to date. Again, it's a living document, living process. Managed and controlled the changes, monitored impacts to the project, and stayed in touch with the project team. And for the conclusion of that process for Hadi, he then wrapped things up, obtained final approvals and certification, handed over deliverables, moved into a BAU process, reviewed the project team's performance, again for future reference, reviewed the project processes and plans and his own performance, again, a reflection to assist in future projects, and disbanded the project team, captured and evaluated lessons learned and benefits realised. So in this example, had he saved the day? So this story does have a happy ending. Now, using that project lifestyle, and again, the imagery there is really clearly indicating that this is a living process. Until the conclusion of the project, this cycle is ongoing. Don't learn lessons the hard way. Get things right from the start by following the project life cycle. Now, in closing, what I would like to say again is to reinforce one aspect that was mentioned earlier, which is in relation to a culture of lifelong learning. And for us at UNEP, this is one of the significantly most important aspects of learning and development. What it does do is takes a real world opportunity and gives it meaning. As was discussed earlier, the piece of paper is not the most important part. It is the belief in the process and the outcome of that learning, the knowledge and skills that can be applied in your business in real time. That's where the value comes. And the ability to then share that knowledge and experience with others within your workplace, within your team, and even within your family. I know it may sound very unusual, but project management and the concepts of project management have real world application in your own life, in how you manage a holiday, a project in your own home, a renovation, whatever it may be, it gives you that opportunity. I thank you very much for your time. I've tried to be brief, and I certainly encourage any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. That was very comprehensive. We do have some time left, so let's get straight into answering your questions in the Q&A sessions. So is there any question in the chat box? Let me check first.
Daniel, I noticed you have a question.
Yes, I have. May I?
Okay, time is yours, Daniel.
Well, thank you very much. It's such a good presentation. Thank you, Mr. Richard. I have a question. The presentation and the step that you present before look easy to do if we understand about the step by step. But you know, in the implementation in the organization or workspace, we face so many challenges. Like teamwork, how to build the same frequency or the same strength in our team, and also about budget. You know, like today in Indonesia, the economy is not so good, and you know, in every project that we handle, we face so many something like a challenges to our financial department regarding to the budget, etc. And then also about policy, something like what government order to us to a company. So I think the situation is so complicated. So what do you, according to you, Mr. Richard, how to, I mean, to handle it step by step, or the best way to keep the project running well, but in the same time, we can handle also the challenge that come to our project. Thank you. Hey, before I want to introduce myself. Thank you for APINDO inviting me. My name is Daniel Hutajulu. I'm from Medan in North Sumatra, Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Daniel.
Yeah.
Times is
Daniel, I thank you very much for your question.
Yeah.
It is a very good question. And I certainly respect your statements around restrictions and limitations in implementing a project and all of the components, government regulation, financial, resource, both human and literal resource within an organization. If I can reinforce that your concerns that of which you speak, this will not make you feel any better, but they are not unique to you. These are very common and very real challenges in most projects.
Okay.
To answer your question in what is the solution, Daniel, do you play a musical instrument, or do you have another hobby or this that you have learnt as a child?
Yes, I have some hobbies. In my spare time, I like singing and also writing and what is it? Reading. And I just accomplished my magister education in North Sumatra University in economic.
Congratulations, very well done.
You're welcome, sir.
The point of reference that I make because of this is that before you have done this, you start from a point of limited confidence, potentially limited finance, limited time, and you as a person must manage your processes to be able to achieve these things. Now, as a child, we may learn to fish. We may learn to sing. We may learn to ride a bike. Before we do this, the activity or the task is very complex and very challenging and very scary.
Yeah.
Once we have mastered this skill, even fishing, once we have mastered this, it then allows us to fish confidently, even in a stream with no fish, even with no hook. We are more adaptable given the circumstances we are in. Now, this is deliberately very simple as an analogy, because when you understand the base framework of how to manage a project, and you have confidence in this skill and this knowledge, when you approach a project, you will be in a position to be able to adapt your knowledge and skill given the circumstances and given the challenges. It does not make it easy, but what it does give you a structure to still support to achieve outcomes with the limitations that you have. I hope this answers your question, Daniel.
Well, it helps me so much. It means that you said that in every single life, actually, there's some problems or something like limitation that our must face. Yeah. So.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Richard. Thank you.
Thank you
Mr.
very much for your
Andika.
question, Daniel.
Yeah. We are Batak Mes. We are the same tribe. Batak Mes also, Pakpahan, right? Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
Chiplin.
Thank you, Pak Daniel. Okay, next we have the second question from Diana Izati. How about the theory of change, sir? When do we actually need it, and how bad is it if we actually implying it?
Can I just confirm the question? Was it in relation to change? And just clarify the
Diana,
question.
are you here? Okay.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, sir. So what I meant to ask is, how do we face a condition where our success measurement is way behind, but we still have our main aspect? How do we apply that theory of change?
Okay, a very good question again. So thank you. I appreciate it. There are two aspects. When your measure of success is not in line with the project deliverables, there is actually a disconnect. So you must have your deliverables, and the measure of success must be in line with the objective. What is it we're trying to achieve? If the measure of success is here, and your project is aiming for deliverables here, then you will never achieve that balance. And this occurs very much in the planning phase, that as you plan, you ensure that there is harmony in your project. Because if there is not in the first instance, then your project has the real risk of not being successful. Now, if we talk about change as a separate aspect, this is a very big topic, and I could spend hours on this, just this alone, but I will not. Change is a very important part of process, and at a base level, as we change or we define change within a business or an organization, the impact is both throughout the business internally, and also the impact is felt externally by whatever service we provide, whatever product we make. So there is an impact on the consumer, our clients, and our customers as well. We must be mindful in our project planning as to what impacts and risks that change presents. And also, we must be ready with mitigation, how we will support that change. And just to clarify really simply, at a base level, if any one of us...
Aku usul Mbak, kalau mayoritas bidang pada setuju, go ahead aja.
Sorry, shall I continue? If the change is considered at a basic level, of it as at a human level, any change that is not effectively communicated at a human level can undermine the success of our project, because we do not consider the real impacts to the people that we task with making the success of the project. So this is something to be aware of, not to be afraid of, but to understand that change is very real and has an impact in many different aspects. I do not know if I have truly answered the question, but I hope I have come close.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Diana, for the questions. Next, we move to the third question from Yahya. This is about AI. So, currently in Indonesia, the use of AI is widespread in various work roles. Can project management be implemented using AI? And if possible, can you share your experience regarding the use of AI in project management?
Certainly. I would be very curious, and we would be very interested to hear from Indonesia what the experience is in the utilization of AI. It is a global shift, and it is impacting every sector globally. And the pace is not only fast, but is getting faster. In answering your question, can you use AI in project management? Without question. I would highly recommend it. In your planning phases, in your scheduling phases, almost every single aspect of project management methodology can be supported and made more efficient through the utilization of AI. So no question at all. For myself, professionally and personally, my application of AI in projects, a lot of my project work was a few years earlier. And to be honest, Ed, you only need to go back about 2 years and AI wasn't broadly applied. So do I use AI on a daily basis in all other aspects of operation that I currently do? Without question. It is an incredibly useful tool. Do I think everyone must be an expert? I know this was not a question asked, but I think it is important to understand. When it comes to the utilization of AI, it is important for all to continue to learn and to develop their skills in the use of AI relative to their workplace, as this process and the technology will evolve at such a rate that your learning and development in the use of AI must grow over time. So again, I hope this has answered your question.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Yahya, for the question. Next, we move to the fourth question from Ayu Purnamasari from Interfloor, Indonesia. So the question is more technical and related to your materials before, Richard. How are the plan and execute steps connected in the project cycle?
How are they connected?
Yes.
With the course structure, you will be provided a framework that will clearly communicate this, as in the relative relationships and how the communication, the data flows work. In real world application, how you decide to construct that framework that you operate within and all of the integrations are 100% up to you. And again, this is why I think the beauty is of the course, the short course. Whether you continue on and learn more or not, it is learning and understanding the basics, literally the fundamentals of project management. With this as a skill set, you are then able to apply and contextualize this to meet and to suit your business need. You may only ever use 2% in application because in your circumstance or your business, this is what was needed, or you may choose to use 100%. That is the level of flexibility that you have in project management. It is completely up to you, given the circumstances and the nature of your business, the nature, as Daniel had questioned before, you may not have sufficient resources to implement or structure everything in your project. It may not be possible. So it is about making it realistic and achievable to get an improved or enhanced outcome for yourself. And whilst deviating from the question, it is a very important aspect of understanding project management in application that over time, you will apply and test these processes. Remember, I emphasized that reflection, review, and the documentation of lessons learned. How you complete a project in the first instance after completing this coursework will not be the same by the time you've done the 10th project. They will look completely different. And this is because your knowledge, your confidence, and your skills will grow along with you. So again, how you want to construct your projects is completely up to you. We give you the skills and the knowledge at a base level, of how you could do this to the best of effect. But again, reinforcing, are you likely to ever use that in that structure ever again? Maybe never. It's the knowledge and skills that you take away that are the most important aspects of this.
Okay, thank you, Richard. So the participant just full of power. There is a lot of questions in the chat box. So next we move to question related to people. So this question is from Henny Kusmiati. During the earlier stage of project, when we have to engage staff and management, there are always people with different perspectives and interests. There are people who are having positive and negative thinking towards the project, especially if it involves multi-different functions. Any advice to have full buy-in form of those people?
Welcome to business and welcome to project management. Congratulations, you have arrived. This, again, reinforce or encourage you. This is very normal in every project. This is normal in every business. You are not alone. Many of your peers and your colleagues in this session will be feeling exactly the same feelings you have today. Is there a simple solution? No, unfortunately, it is part of the process. It is basically, it's change management. It's about managing expectations, and as a manager or a leader within a business, being able to effectively communicate with your colleagues, your teams, and your subordinates, not only recognizing their input and allowing them the opportunity to provide input, but providing sufficient feedback in such a way that it recognizes the valuable contributions and the reason why a determination may be made to go a particular way, which may not meet everyone's approval. The challenges can be that if the negatives or those that aren't an advocate of a project objective or deliverable, which is again very normal, if they are more superior than you, this is where it comes down to the project planning process to ensure that it is very clear strategically that the intended objectives are clearly understood at all levels of the business. So again, it's about managing change, but using appropriate strategies at different levels of the hierarchy within a business to achieve a suitable outcome. And a planning phase of a project is core to allowing you to do this to ensure you're able to achieve the objectives within the timeframes you so decide. So is it easy? No. Is it normal? Definitely. Are there ways to fix it? Definitely. It comes down to management skills, leadership skills, and communication skills in a planning phase of the project.
Yes, that was great, Richard. Yes, not easy and it's normal. So next, let's move to another question from Reynaldi Adrian Ginting. Is fundamental project management very important in determining the feasibility of a business in a micro or macro company?
So just to clarify the question, I got most of it. What aspect was important in a micro or macro?
Reynaldi, are you here? Reynaldi? Okay, maybe we move to another question first, Richard. From Atia Marcella. How are priorities set when multiple projects compete for resources? This is interesting too.
An amazing question and very insightful. I would have to say again, to reinforce, very, very normal. Many organizations have a project schedule management process, which strategically looks at all projects currently underway and can assist in the management of resources, because quite often you may have allocation of resource for a project, but there is a clash with a competing project for the same resource, whether it be human or a physical resource. This is, again, very common. If an organization is likely to have multiple projects running at the same time, which is very common, it means that as another layer of project management must be in place if you wish to avoid the duplication or multiple use of existing resource. So it's another layer of scheduling maintenance.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Next, we will run into another question from Natalia, from her experience as a project manager. So, from Natalia's experience as a project manager, the most challenging part is the development up to the closing process or delivery, especially when the product we manage is digital. We usually create estimates and add buffers, but many issues occur outside the team's control. For example, when client requirements change from time to time. So how should we handle these? And what's the best way to communicate or manage with the client in such situations?
Again, a very well-informed question. So again, thank you for the question. Unfortunately, also very common. There are three key components that will address these sort of risks within project. One is risk management and risk mitigation, identifying and clarifying risk. If, as you have said, historically you have multiple examples from this occurring, your risk register will keep a record of the nature of the occurrence and your lessons learned, again, remembering lessons learned, documentation and reporting, will advise and prepare for the next circumstance where this also has a potential. In the sense of a subsequent project planning phase, the processes that you would need to reinforce, and I fully understand the nature of what the question says of what's occurring. You have changes to scope processes that document any additional commentary or requirements from a client. So if the client says, that's wonderful, but I want it to have 16 of those, not one, that needs to be documented and communicated back to the client at that point of shift. And what this can allow is for the organization to advise that this may have a time implication, a financial implication, a scope implication, a quality implication, or all four. And then the client is in the position to advise against what has been stated. So before you implement a shift or a change within a project, it's about communication and immediacy of that communication back to the client around the implications of change to scope. In your risk management or your risk matrix of a project management scoping document, you would identify clearly the potential for scope creep, which was where there is a variation in the projection of resource requirement, the potential for additions to scope, any variations which will have an implication directly on the scope of a project. And also it then stipulates the process, policy and procedure relative to what do you do if X occurs, Y occurs, or Z occurs, and the client has actually signed this off at the initial planning phase and the project go live. So you have confirmation from the project client, the project host or sponsor, that they already understand that if they change scope this is what will occur in this time frame, and this is a reporting structure. So it's not about saying no, but it's about making sure that it's effectively communicated and the implications are communicated back to the client. And then they are in a position to make a choice. Do we remove an item from scope? Do we allow the quality to diminish? Do we add in or contribute more financially? Or do we extend time? And it's completely the choice of the host client or sponsor of a project to then say, yes, go ahead with this.
Thank you, Richard. So next, another question from project manager, another experience too. This is from Junianti. I face a lot of challenge as a PM in my previous project. The project lifecycle often doesn't run as expected due to several factors. For example, in my case, I have experienced certain challenge. I became a replacement project manager towards the end of two projects I previously handled, which means I was not involved from the initiation stage. The challenge, of course, were different. I had to quickly adapt to the project and consolidate the teams while racing against a timeline that was heading towards closure. Have you ever faced a similar challenge? How did you handle it?
Yes, lots of times. I would have, again, it is not unusual. The simplest solution, given the broad range of context that this could apply to, because there are so many different projects that to give one solution alone is tricky. But having said that, if someone is what I would call parachuted into a project and they are now the project principal, the first and probably one of the strongest things to do before you concern yourself with the team is to review the project plan and project scoping documents. If in the instance that someone is thrown into the middle of an ongoing project, there are many reasons why this occurs. The most important aspect is to clarify, are the project deliverables still true? So it would be an emphasis and or a focus on the planning and the review of the planning and the scoping before anything else. The main reason I say this is if the planning and scoping documents are reviewed in the first instance, it may be clearly identified on day one, week one, that the project deliverables are not realistic or achievable, which means looking at resource, scope, quality, cost, time is irrelevant. Have the discussion first. Are you aware that this deliverable, this time frame, or this budget are no longer viable? Yes, no. Do you want me to revise the project plan to make this a realistic objective? Really basic things. Go back to your planning first. Get the key stakeholder, sponsor, host to sign off, and be firm. As a project manager, you have accountability, you have liability. Make sure that you are clearly communicating the outcome. Now, this is very easy to say, and not in every circumstance is this possible. And I empathize with anyone that's in a situation where they are not able to do this. I have been in this position before. I know how it feels. It is not good.
Okay, thank you, Richard. We still have few questions in the chat box. And next we move to another question from Anonym. Every project has targets. As you mentioned, if the system is working, then the project will run smoothly. As long as I know, every project in company has to be renewed, the contract every 5 years. When we achieve the targets, can we continue the project? And what if the target is not yet achieved, but we have to end the project?
The simplest answer without more information is that the project governance documentation created in the first instance in the planning phase will, as part of its documentation and governance, define processes or policy relative to incomplete outcomes. And that depends on the nature of the planning phase as to how effectively and or even if this has been done. The reality is, in some instances, for unforeseen circumstances, out of 100% of an objective, you may only realize 80% realization at the conclusion of the project. If in the planning phase you've allowed for this, or in the risk phase you have documented this, you have strategies and mitigations relative to this. If in the planning phases and or the governance processes you have not documented this, then it becomes a ad hoc post-outcome resolution. Again, when we're looking at the fundamentals of project management, it is about preparing yourself for the best possible outcome. And there are so many variables in every single project that you can plan, you can look for your knowns, you can identify your unknowns, and you can apply buffers or percentage allowances for overruns. But this is all in the planning phase. So it's how effective and how robust the planning phase is as to what that looks like in conclusion. If this hasn't been done, which again is not unusual, then it's a case of organizational determination. What do we as a business want to do?
Thank you, Richard. Next question may be quite similar with the previous questions about AI. So this is from Sheila Melina from Mukti Mandiri Lestari. With the rise of AI and data analytics, do you think the traditional fundamentals of project management, such as the trivial constraints of scope, time, and cost, will remain relevant in the future? Or will they evolve towards a model that is more outcome-driven and adaptive?
Very, very good questions. I certainly do I can give you an opinion as an answer. I do not believe that it is an evidenced opinion in the sense that is there empirical evidence to date to denote this? I don't believe so. There are two thoughts that I would put forward. In the traditional sense of time, cost, quality, scope, I would be drawn to some of the base principles. If you think about laws of physics, for an example, or music. I'll start with music. Music is an easy one to align with. If we think about the evolution of the music we listen to today and the music that our parents and our grandparents listened to, there is so much change and variation and difference in our tastes and our appetites. But fundamentally, at the base level, music is a constant. A note is a note, a G is a G, an F sharp is an F sharp. Again, with the laws of physics, gravity, E equals mc squared. These are constants. Now, do I think that project management fundamentals are laws of physics? No. But the cost of a project will always have an implication. Can there be more efficiency and subsequent allowance for focus on other aspects of methodology because there's more efficiency in managing the finances or the structures of a project? without question. Scope is broader. It's the what's involved, the how much. So again, efficiencies in creating the scope, structuring it, managing it, definitely. Do I think the concept of scope will diminish? Unlikely. Quality, again, it's not a literal tangible. It depends on the nature of the project as to what quality means. Do I think the quality aspect of a project will be removed? No. Do I think there will be more efficiencies and opportunities to manage what quality looks like and to give us efficiencies relative to quality? Definitely. Time. Well, there's a constant. I don't know that we're going to be moving away from our 24-hour time frame at the moment, but you never know. Maybe we will get up to 26-hour days. I don't know. I hope not. So I hope that answers the question. Do I think it will evolve? Do I think it'll look different? Without question. Do I think some of the bases of project management will change? What they look like will change, but the basic concepts are still going to be within that process.
Okay, thank you, Richard. We run to another question from Poso, Central Sulawesi, Stufar, from Mahris. Is the theory of project management fundamentals applicable to social enterprises? If we need an adaptation, what part is it?
Actually, another very good question, and actually has really, really simple answers. Is it applicable to social enterprise? Definitely. It's the flexibility that makes it truly applicable. Social enterprise, by its very nature, needs to be dynamic. It needs to be agile, and it needs to have that flexibility within it. And that once you have the knowledge and the skill, it's the methodology that you can apply or draw from. So there are maybe 20 different methodologies relative to project management. Which you choose to go with and which works best for you in your organization as a social enterprise is completely up to you. Once you've learnt to ride the bike, you can ride any bike. So it is direct application. Is there anything that would need to change? Again, that depends on the nature of the project itself within your social enterprise. And having the knowledge and skill to be able to adapt the project to suit your need. So would things need to change? That's completely up to you as a project manager or a project principal or a project stakeholder as to what that structure or the methodology might look like. And again, the freedom with this process is the flexibility by nature. In real world application, take the knowledge and the skill that you have and apply it in the right way. Does that mean you use all of the project management fundamental knowledge and skill? Or if you were to move on to a diploma of project management or advanced diploma or degree, it's completely up to you. It's about the need for your organization. What resources do I have? And again, thank you, Daniel, for your wonderful question. It goes back to this. Each organization has limitation. How we do it, what we choose to do in a structure and a framework is based upon our capacity and capability. And how we then learn from that and adapt that. Are we using AI to give ourselves efficiency? Certainly, with social enterprise, I would see that as a critical aspect because of the limitations by the nature of the sector. Looking at leveraging AI to simplify and hasten the processes and practices for project management. So again, a really good question. Lots of positive answers for that one, definitely. And certainly a key favorite area for me. So thank you for the question, and I hope that has answered your question.
Thank you once again, Richard. Next question, I think it's more personal, from Revelto. What daily habits do you consider crucial for developing an entrepreneurial mindset? Entrepreneur mindset.
Okay, here we go. The simplest answer I can give you would be emotional intelligence. You need, in my mind, this is a personal and professional opinion, in my mind, you need to know yourself first and truly know yourself. When we understand ourselves and are at comfort with ourselves, we are then free to explore. We are free to go on beyond the boundaries that we would have otherwise set ourselves and the limitations that we may perceive that quite often, or more often than not, are not real limitations. So if you're talking about what is one thing you would do to encourage or to lean towards an entrepreneurial mindset, not be afraid to understand yourself and to test your limitations. And I know you only asked for one, but the other one, which would be relative to the first one, so it's not really two. Don't be afraid of not succeeding. Accept it as part of process.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Another question from Fahmi Fajar. How are priorities set when multiple projects compete for resource?
Good question. Similar to one we had the other day where there's the competing projects. Again, the simplest way to manage this is project management software if you have the funds available. The reason I say that is project management software, and there are many free examples as well as cheap examples that exist online. I would also recommend the utilization of AI in assisting with that management structure and looking at methodology, because it is about scheduling. It's about knowing your resource and understanding that across what would be a matrix of demand. So it's not even that, it's literally so many demands and being able to track them. So if you have the funds, software, or you have the time, learning how to use the free software options and also exploring AI. That would be my recommendation.
Okay, Richard. This is the last questions for our session today. Also, experience-based from Gloria Emanuela. Hello, sir. I'm an in-house legal counsel, mostly focused on hard skills like legal review and drafting. However, I feel the need of project management in this particular sector since I often find myself scattered when projects get stuck, especially waiting for approvals from institution or higher up. My question is, how would you start to stay organized and keep these things moving when delays are outside my control?
If I understand, and please, I think it was Gloria that asked the question. If my answer is not in line with your question, please let me know and I can certainly expand upon it. If it is relative to managing your own competing demands, then there are, again, a variety of different methodologies that can be utilized. One that I use quite commonly is Planner in Microsoft 365. It is, from a project management perspective, it's a very, very basic tool. If an organization or a business has a specific license, then it is free as part of that license. It does not guarantee you would have access to this. But Planner does allow for you to create very basic structures that you can utilize to support your priorities, your objectives, and even mini projects with alerts, plotting as in graphs and graphic illustrations of where you're up to. It also allows you to prioritize things quite simply. And again, all being able to, you can drill down into the data and actually report. If you're IT savvy or have some additional knowledge around it, you can actually use things like Power BI, which is another Microsoft application which allows you to develop more comprehensive reports from Planner. So it can be a really simple, effective tool that you may already have access to, so no additional expenditure if that is the case. And I find this quite a handy tool. And I've advised or recommended that a number of colleagues try this in managing their workplace demands and tasks. And the greater majority of colleagues that I've recommended to utilize this have continued to use this for exactly that reason. They found it has been very helpful. So there are other methodologies, but if I was to choose one and keep it simple, that would be something that I would recommend.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much once again for a very comprehensive materials and the Q&A sessions. And that wraps up our session today. Thank you to Richard and the team from the UNE partnership for such an excellent session. I can say on behalf of APINDO how proud we are to be collaborating with the IASE and Catalyst in bringing these valuable training sessions to professionals across Indonesia. But before we go, let's take a group of photos to commemorate our time together. For the committee, please be ready. So there are more than 200 participants here. So for all of the participants, please open your camera. We will divide or separate into some slides. Okay, please open your camera. Okay, for the first slide. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Second slide. Okay, second slide. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Third slide.
I don't know how to style again.
Okay, for the third slide. 1, 2, 3. So next slide. 1, 2, 3. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. 7th slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is the last slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thanks to everyone in our audience for participating. As mentioned earlier, today's event is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube with a link provided on the Catalyst website and in social media. For the e-certificates are available and will be issued within 1 week by email. So this marks the final session in our 4-part webinar series designed to strengthen skills and knowledge for professionals across Indonesia. If you miss any of the previous sessions or wish to continue learning, you can find recordings, resources, and details about the upcoming programs on Catalyst website at IA-CEPA catalyst.org. For more online courses designed to support your professional growth, visit iaskills.org to learn more and take the next step in your skills journey. So take care for now, and we look forward to welcoming you at the Indonesia and Australia Skills Exchange at iaskills.org. Thank you very much, everyone. See you and have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What is greatness?
It's doing what makes you feel proud. What feels right for right now? You define your greatness.
Masih 1 jam lagi.
Pina.
Ya, Bu. Aha, saatnya kembangkan karir. Seru juga ya kalau bisa ngembangin karir. Tapi kok... Indonesia Australia Skills Exchange. Dengan Indonesia Australia Skills Exchange, saatnya tumbuh bersama. Indonesia Australia Skills Exchange membantu dunia usaha Indonesia menyediakan berbagai pelatihan berkualitas. Industri di Indonesia akan terhubung langsung dengan lembaga pendidikan Australia. Indonesia Australia Skills Exchange.
The Catalyst activity with Living Well Seniors Communities provides us a fantastic opportunity to connect Indonesian nurses with Australian registered training organisations and skill up those Indonesian nurses as personal care attendants specialising in aged care based on an Australian standard. We look forward to Living Well Seniors Communities providing both services here in Indonesia to meet Australian standards, but vice versa, we look forward to the opportunity of training up, skilling up Indonesian care workers and enabling them to enter the Australian workforce to assist aged care operators and to ease some of those staffing issues which currently exist.
menjawab tantangan multidimensional yang dihadapi dunia usaha di tengah disrupsi dan konflik geopolitik membutuhkan sinergi dan kolaborasi kuat antar pengusaha.
Selama lebih dari 70 tahun bertransformasi, APINDO sebagai wadah kolaborasi pengusaha memegang erat 5 nilai Pancasila sebagai fondasi untuk menuju perubahan. Sebagai insan APINDO yang menjadi katalisator utama terhadap isu-isu penting yang mendukung agenda nasional dan internasional, kami terus berupaya mewujudkan iklim usaha yang kondusif, kompetitif, dan berkelanjutan untuk penciptaan lapangan pekerjaan.
Dengan mengembangkan 7 prioritas utama, APINDO terus berkomitmen memberikan pengaruh dan kontribusi yang signifikan, inklusif, serta berkelanjutan bagi roda perekonomian nasional. Dalam upaya mendorong transformasi APINDO untuk Indonesia maju, APINDO berkomitmen untuk mengembangkan 4 program unggulan, yaitu mengembangkan roadmap kebijakan ekonomi untuk panduan strategis pemerintah dalam melanjutkan reformasi struktural, mendorong pertumbuhan ekonomi yang inklusif dengan mendukung peningkatan kinerja UMKM, mereformasi kualitas SDM nasional sejak dini dengan pencegahan stunting, dan menerapkan program sertifikasi HR dan IR untuk peningkatan profesionalisme dan kualitas hubungan industrial yang dinamis.
Mari melangkah bersama untuk pengusaha bersatu Indonesia maju.